welcome back. I'm Corbett. You're listening to WILK AM 103.1 FM. I heard this morning that a press conference, actually a press call, was being held to discuss the Governor Tom Corbett, no relation to me, might I add, the disastrous cuts that the governor has been making and will likely continue to make unless he's stopped to the Pennsylvania State University. The event today was an opportunity for the chairman of the Democratic Party, Jim Byrne, a Penn State student, and Admiral Joe Sestak, who is now teaching at the Dickinson School of Law, which is affiliated now with Penn State University, to address these problems. I was happy to hear Joe Sestak's name back in the mix. It was sort of like hearing the cavalry coming, and we all love the sound of that bugle. Joe Sestak, good to talk to you again.
Hey, Steve, it's great to be back. How you doing?
Well, we're doing good. We're continuing to raise awareness as you're doing. Tell us why you felt it necessary to step up publicly and address these terrible cuts to the Pennsylvania State University.
Absolutely. Look, Steve, ever since I was in the military, in the Navy, I always looked at education as our homeland defense. You know, in the military, when I joined up during the Vietnam War era, I had 5 chief petty officers. Not one of them had ever gone past high school. So by the time I commanded a carrier battle group off Afghanistan and Iraq, you couldn't be promoted to senior chief petty officer unless you had earned at least an associate's college degree in a technology, because we needed well-trained, well-educated sailors to make sure that we could be all we can be. And that's how I feel about it right here in Pennsylvania. Look, the top 10 states in America that have the highest percentage of their population between 25 and 36 with a college degree have twice the productivity of other states. And not only that, the median level income has gone up 20% as compared to the lowest 10, which only has gone up 4%. It's about the economy is why I believe this is so important.
The Pennsylvania State University, Penn State, as most people know the school, has always had a reputation for scholarship, for research, has always been an affordable place, particularly for Pennsylvania students to attend. I got a bachelor's degree in community development out of main campus. My wife has a PhD in political science out of main campus. And many, many other people depended on and utilized the quality education we received. I see younger people particularly, and even Penn State seems out of reach as a state university. The only culprit who's in the lead here is the governor. No relationship to me, might I add.
No, you're absolutely spot on. And to do a 20% cut for Penn State, which is, among other things, the absolute premier agriculture research university in America that has done so much to make our farmers be so much more productive, is absolutely harmful. Look, I came to teach. I do teach at Dickinson Penn State Law School, but I taught at Cheney University, also Dickinson College itself, at Carnegie Mellon University and the Army War College. I've been all across the state teaching our national treasure, the youth of America, that then step up and are going to keep us all we can be. A bachelor's degree today is similar to what a high school diploma was 30 years ago. That's how competitive we have to be. And to have people be able to go to public universities and be able to afford them, because 75% of those who earn a degree go through public colleges and universities. There are a premier producer of degrees. We have to support them. And when you find out that Penn State University is actually the next lowest of all the public universities across America in terms of state help per student, then you know that we're doing something wrong here in Pennsylvania.
I'm 62 years of age. I graduated from Penn State in 1974. And as I say, when I look back on what I was able to borrow, the costs of living in the dormitory, of attending college full time, not having to work, as most of my peers at Penn State University, we didn't have to work, most of us. Now I meet young people. I've met 2 young people, a young man and a young woman recently. He owes about $150,000. She owes more than $200,000 in college loans. When we think about leadership, Joe, you understand leadership. You've proven yourself as a leader in the military and elsewhere. What can the people of Pennsylvania ask for? What can the people of Pennsylvania require of the governor? How do we find the leadership we need to bring sanity back to the Pennsylvania State University in terms of restoring cuts and not making any more?
The governor must restore the almost $500 million that he has cut away from our public universities here in Pennsylvania. And the money is available. He has to do that because of what you just spoke about. Right now, there's over $1 trillion of student debt. It actually is more than credit card debt. It's actually more than car loan debt. And we have too many of our students who are burdened to what you just said. And here's the other issue, that you now have families where it used to be when you went to college that the cost of going to college for a public university was 1/6 of a family's income. Today, it's 1/3 of a family's income to send them to college. And to have the governor actually cut that when 1 out of every 3 Pennsylvanians this year will slip into poverty from somewhere from 2 to 7 months, you know that he is not making sure that this state is going to remain competitive, because the most precious resource we have is our human capital. People like you who got the education and went on to be all they could be.
Joe, before I let you go, I think you got to run to class, if I'm not mistaken. Let me ask this. We not only have pointed the finger at the governor and the governor's office and primarily Republicans in the state legislature. We in northeastern Pennsylvania often point the finger at Democrats as well. I'm a Democrat. I'm someone who expects more from the Democratic Party, and I have yet to really hear a focused discussion coming from the Democratic Party, particularly the elected Democrats in the House and in the Senate in Pennsylvania, to try to pressure this change. Can we hope that the Democratic Party and that the elected officials, maybe under your leadership and others, will be a little more vociferous in holding accountable those who have taken something precious?
Steve, that's a beautiful word you just used. Hold them accountable for their responsibility. And there is nothing more precious than our national treasure, our youth. And so I'm hoping today, which is why I did this earlier today, conference call across the state, began to speak much more about this. I went back to our school, institutions of higher learning from across the state, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, in order to get to know who are these youth, what are these faculties. And look, I think there's two things. There's cost and there's quality. And I do want our universities to make sure that they can become a much more competitive in terms of their cost structure by publishing more of the critical learning assessment tests they do and making sure people know what the graduation rates are, because we do pretty well. But on the other hand, if we cannot afford to send our youth by support of this state, when families are hurting so much, we are going to truly have problems when we get to the future. Look, since 1958, we have had the cost of education, higher education, increasing at 8% a year. But Penn State has slowed that down over the last few years to below 5%, to almost 2%. And so they're doing their job, but the governor and the legislator, Democrats, as well as Republicans, have to stand up. And whenever you see a poll being taken, the number 2 issue after jobs, because Pennsylvanians have common sense, is education. And higher education, because right now we're 16th in the world instead of number 1 in the percentage of those between 25 and 36 who have a college education. And we dropped last year from 12 to 16. We've got to move right up that in order to have the best economy you possibly can and the best income for our families.
Joe, Pennsylvania has a proud heritage of public education. I think that we'd agree that public education transfers and support for public education transfers into true public service. We'll look forward to talking with you more about this, and it's good to talk to you again. Good luck with everything.
Thanks, Steve. Have a happy new year.
You too. Thank you. Joseph Sestak, the Admiral, fighting the fight publicly for public education at the Pennsylvania State University. We'll come back and talk about it. Are you with him or against him? I'm with him. We'll be right back.